Christian devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Prabhupada.
I think Swapna Madhi, when you're ready, you can start, Madhi.
Okay, Prabhu. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naran Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Today we'll be reading from third canto, chapter 1, text 1, chapter title Questions by Vidura. Text 1. Sukadeva Goswami said, after renouncing his prosperous home and entering the forest, King Vidura, the great devotee, asked this question of His Grace Maitreya Rishi. Text 2. What else is there to say about the residential house of the Pandavas? Sri Krishna, the Lord of everything, acted as your minister. He used to enter that house as if it were his own, and he did not take any care of Duryodhana's house. Text 3. The king asked Sukadeva Goswami, where and when did the meeting and discussion take place between Saint Vidura and his Grace Maitreya Muni? Kindly oblige my lord and describe this to us. Text 4. Saint Vidura was a great and pure devotee of the Lord, and therefore his questions to his grace Rishi Maitreya must have been very purposeful on the highest level and approved by learned circles. Text 5. Sri Sutta Goswami said, the great sage Sukadeva Goswami was highly experienced and was pleased with the king. Thus, being questioned by the king, he said to him, please hear the topics attentively. Text 6. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, King Dhritarashtra became blind under the influence of impious desires to nourish his dishonest sons, and thus he set fire to the lacquer house to burn his fatherless nephews, the Pandavas. Text 7. The king did not forbid his son Dushasana's abominable action of grabbing the hair of Draupadi, the wife of godly King Yudhishthira, even though her tears washed the red dust of her breast. Text 8. Yudhishthira, who was born without any enemy, was unfairly defeated in gambling, but because he had taken the vow of truthfulness, he went off to the forest. When he came back in due course and begged the return of his rightful share of the kingdom, he was refused by Dhritarashtra, who was overwhelmed by illusion. Text 9. Lord Krishna was sent by Arjuna into the assembly as a spiritual master of the whole world, and although his words were heard by someone like Bhishma as pure nectar, it was not so for the others who were completely bereft of the last farthing of past pious works. The king, Dhritarashtra or Duryodhana, did not take the words of Lord Krishna very seriously. Text 10. When Vidura was invited by his elder brother, Dhritarashtra, for consultation, he entered the house and gave instructions which were exactly to the point. His advice is well known, and instructions by Vidura are approved by expert ministers of state. Text 11. Vidura said, you must now return the legitimate share to Yudhishthira, who has no enemies, and who has been forbearing through untold sufferings due to your offenses. He is waiting with his younger brothers, among whom is the revengeful Bhima, breathing heavily like a snake. Surely you are afraid of him. Text 12. Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, has accepted the sons of Pritha as his kinsmen, and all the kings of the world are with Lord Krishna. He is present in his home with all his family members, the kings and the princesses, and the princes of the Yadu dynasty, who have conquered an unlimited number of rulers, and he is their lord. Text 13. You are maintaining offense personified, Duryodhana, as your infallible son, but he is envious of Lord Krishna. And because you are thus maintaining a non-devotee of Krishna, you are devoid of all auspicious qualities. Relieve yourself of this ill fortune as soon as possible and do good to the whole family. Text 14. While speaking thus, Vidura, whose personal character was esteemed by respectable persons, was insulted by Duryodhana, who was swollen with anger and whose lips were trembling. Duryodhana was in company with Karna, his younger brothers, and his maternal uncle Shakuni. Text 15. Who asked him to come here? This son of a kept mistress, he is so crooked that he spies in the interest of the enemy against those who on whose support he has grown up. Toss him out of the palace immediately and leave him with only his breath. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Swarnamati. Hare Krishna. So it's a wonderful section. In one sense, it's summarizing some of the key aspects of Mahabharata. But in another sense, it gives us the nature of Krishna, how Krishna is taking care of his devotees, and Krishna is serving his devotees, and how a practicing devotee and a elevated devotees, how they act in Krishna consciousness also we can learn from this section. And also how we should not act and what we should be careful about also is clear in this section. So good thing is it's a very nice section, but the punchline is in the 16th verse that is coming tomorrow. But I'll give you all the preface going towards the 16th verse coming tomorrow. So the chapter itself is titled Questions by Vidura. We are starting the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam out of the 12 cantos. We completed the first two cantos, and in the end of the second canto, we heard how Saunakrishi, the whole conversation of Srimad Bhagavatam, initially started in the first canto with the sages of Namisaranya who were asking questions to Suta Goswami. That's how the conversation is going. In that conversation between Suta Goswami and the sages of Namisaranya, then Suta Goswami is sometimes referred to a conversation by Sukadeva Goswami, how he is telling Bhagavatam to Parishit Maharaj. So, in the second canto, we were in the conversation between Suta Goswami and sages of Namisaranya at the Namisaranya place. So, they asked a question. The lead person in the sages of Namisaranya, his name is Saunaka Rishi. He asked a question. He asked, in the first canto, you told us about how Vidura left home and Vidura went to pilgrimage, and you mentioned that Vidura met Maitreya Muni in his pilgrimage after when he went out like that. Can you please describe those like that? Saunakrushi asked Sudha Goswami. That was the second canto towards the last, in the last chapter, last few verses. So now the nature of saintly personalities and spiritual personalities is they don't want to create something of their own. They refer to the bona fide knowledge coming from the previous gurus, previous acharyas like that. So naturally, Suta Goswami being a bona fide guru, he referred to a conversation between previous acharyas. In this case, Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. And because he knows that there are similar questions asked by Parikshit Maharaj to Sukadeva Goswami. So in that context, he is going to narrate the conversation between Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj that led to answering the questions that Saunakrushi is asking, which is why did Vidura leave home? How did the Vidura's pilgrimage go? And how did Vidura happen to meet Maitreya Muni like that? So that is the context for this conversation. And that will go on for a couple of chapters before Vidura meets Maitreya. So now this is setting the scene of Vidura leaving the home. That is the section we are in right now. So going to the verses now in detail. So having known the context, Suta Goswami is describing the conversation between Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj now. So Sukadeva Goswami is speaking in the first verse of the third canto, first chapter. So he's saying, let me also share my screen so you can follow along. Okay. Sukadeva Goswami is also saying in the first verse that after renouncing the home, Vidura after renouncing the home, he asked the question to Maitreya Rishi, he is saying. So he will stop there and he will get back to whole context before how Vidura met to Maitreya Muni next. So now he's saying, what else is there about residential houses of Pandava? Who is saying this verse? Sukadeva Goswami is saying that. Why? Sukadeva Goswami, Sri Krishna is saying, Lord Sri Krishna acted like a minister for Pandavas. So he used to enter the house, that Pandava's home, as if it were his own. That means he's so intimately connected with Pandavas. And he not take any care of Duryodhana's house also is describing. There's a pastime where it's described how when Krishna comes as a messenger to Hastinapur, so he did not uh, entertain going to Duryodhana's home or Dushasana's home, where Dushasana's palace was very royally made, it seems, best palace in the whole Hastinapur. And then he did not even bother to go to Duryodhana's home to eat food, which he made lots of preparations for Krishna, it seems. Not out of love, but to gain his favor for Kurukshetra war. So Krishna understood that, and Krishna says with Duryodhana, I'm not inclined to take uh, rest at Dushasana's home, nor I'm going to come to your home to eat all the different foods that you prepared, because you do not have any love or devotion for me. Instead, he chooses to go to Vidura's home. That is what this is describing, basically. So, Lord Krishna doesn't care about what all we are offering to him. Of course, that's also important. But the most important element in any offering to Krishna, whether we are offering any service physically, or whether we are offering service with our intelligence, or we are offering services like offering some food to Krishna, the most important ingredient is our love and devotion. But somebody may say, I don't have so much love and devotion. That's okay. Krishna understands that. So we offer with that humility that Krishna, I don't have so much love and devotion for you. I understand this is good for me to offer this to you. So by hearing my speech master, so that's why I'm practicing to offer to you. Kindly accept this and give me some love and devotion for you. Like that we can pray and give it to Krishna. And Krishna will lovingly accept such an offering also, because we are giving the offering through our spiritual master. So that's the text 2. And text 2 also Prabhupada mentions that anything that satisfies Krishna is also Sri Krishna. Like that, he introduces one concept. Why? He talks about Vrindavan. Vrindavan is a place where Krishna performs his transcendental pastimes. So naturally, Vrindavan is a uh, place that is giving transcendental bliss to Krishna. So it's not different from Krishna. The Prabhupada introduces that term, Achinta Beda Beda Tattva, which is our part of the core part of our philosophy that is introduced by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and our parampara. So, what is Achinta Beda Beda philosophy? That Krishna and his energies are equal in one sense and also simultaneously different also. Like one way to describe it is, Krishna is in supreme spiritual world always, but then he's also present through his energies here, like that. So that is the Achinta Beda Beda philosophy that Prabhupada is explaining in the purport. And then he also uh, describes something that's going to happen later to give the principle now itself. What is the principle is saying? For a saintly person like Vidura, because saintly person like Vidura, any disturbances due to worldly affairs is insignificant. Such disturbances, however, are sometimes favorable for higher realization. Therefore, Vidura took advantage of a family misunderstanding in order to meet Maitreya. This is a wonderful point Prabhupada is making in this purport directly itself, in text 2 itself, which will be evident as we go through the rest of verses till 16th verse today. Tomorrow 16th verse will cover. Basically, Yeah, this is the portion of the purport I wanted to highlight, because this is very important lesson for us as practicing devotees, especially including those who are in Grihastha ashram also. So basically, he's saying any first thing is Prabhupada is saying is any disturbance due to worldly affairs is considered insignificant. How can a practicing devotees consider disturbances due to worldly affairs insignificant when we consider the highest valuable thing, the significant thing is devotional service to Krishna? When we understand that, when we appreciate that, when we realize that my highest valuable thing is devotional service to Krishna, then we are worried about anything that causes impediment to devotional service. But we are not worried about any worldly affairs. What does it mean? Does it mean that we don't care? We're ignorant, we're lazy about worldly affairs, we don't do office work anymore, we don't take care of family anymore? Does it mean that? No. It's saying that in this, just because we're living in this material world, the problems will come in each of this area. That doesn't mean that we bog down, we stop everything spiritually and just bog down with that one particular incident that happened in our life, whether it's with our office, whether it's in our home, like that. We should always see things in connection with our ultimate goal and highest goal of life, which is to engage in devotion service to Krishna. So then when we see that everything in connection to that goal, then we see the small incident that happened in the office or home as not the biggest thing in my life that's causing the whole disturbance. We consider that as insignificant and we deal with it practically. So, is this the most important thing in my life? Not really. So, then how do you deal with it? We need to see how that goes to the next sentence. He's saying such disturbances, what are disturbances that are happening in our life, whether it's friends, family, or whether it's office, like that, such disturbances sometimes may be favorable for higher realizations. And therefore, Vizra took advantage of a family misunderstanding in order to meet Maitreya Rishi. So similarly, when some disturbances happen in our life, whether it's with our office life, or friends, or family, we should see how we can turn them as opportunities to improving our Krishna consciousness. For example, when some disturbances happen in our family, we consider it in two circumstances. One is in terms of ourselves first, in terms of others, how we can be of service to them. So first in ourselves, we need to see this is an opportunity for me to cultivate tolerance, for me to cultivate humility. Like that we can take. And then as practicing devotees, we always learn to look inside. How did I contribute to this circumstance? Can I do something better next time? Like that we should see. Actually, it's the sign of humility to look inside if I've done anything wrong. But if I'm only looking at what other person has done wrong all the time, then that's not a sign of humility. The sign of, as a practicing devotee, we need to cultivate the practice. Is there anything that I am contributing this circumstance, either in office or in home or with friends or a devotees relationships? What am I contributing to this? That is very important for us to look inside like that. Otherwise, we will never grow in spiritual life. So, it's a very important principle. Second is, sometimes we may not change the other person. We may want other person to act in a certain way towards us, but that is not in our control. What we can do is in our control. Then we can take that as an opportunity to practice tolerance and humility. Number one. And then do we not do any practically anything to help others? We can do in a service mode. Not that you're wrong, I want to enjoy. You're not giving me enjoyment. That's why I want to fix you. Not in that mood. In the mood of service, we can help them. If they're ready to listen to us, we can share something with them. If not, we can take help of somebody else who can help them. But some all the circumstances, we cannot be the right person to tell somebody. So we need to see, are we the right person? Did we develop the right relationship of respect, mutual respect? Then If not, we need to work on that mutual respect and relationship where we listen to each other first before we can share with others like that. That's the other thing we can work on. So, if we keep the highest goal in our life, Krishna consciousness, in a forefront, then we can deal with different things in our life, whether it's office life, family, friends, like that, in a similar way. And we should always try to see how I can grow in spirituality through this experience like that. So that's a wonderful lesson we can learn through this pastime also. Going to the third verse, Sukadeva Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj is now speaking. What is he saying? He's asking, can you please tell me where did Vidura and Maitreya Muni meet? When did they meet? How did the discussion go? Please describe this to me, like that he's asking. Now, this showing that Parikshit Maharaj is very eager to inquire about the conversation between two great souls, like that Prabhupada writing the purport. Now, text 4, Vidura, so he's introducing. Who is introducing this? Sukadeva Goswami is introducing Vidura to Parikshit Maharaj. How is he introducing? It's important how we introduce a person. That shows the greatness of the person directly. He was a great and pure devotee of the Lord. That is the significance of Vidura, first of all. Not about all the other things that we'll hear later on. So that's how he's introducing. And therefore, because he's a great devotee, because he's a pure devotee, his questions to Maitreya Muni must have been very purposeful. This shows us two things. One is when we hear the conversation between great devotees, like in Srimad Bhagavatam, we can learn, or like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna and Arjuna, we can learn wonderful things through their conversation. Of course, Krishna is not just a devotee, Krishna is the Supreme Lord himself. So, the second thing is, we learn that they don't talk prajalpa, they don't talk some nonsense things. They talk something impactful in life that is related to Krishna. That means very purposeful conversations they make, not just fight on trivial things, quarrel on trivial things. They just focus on, if I fight with somebody on trivial things, then I cannot focus on chanting properly. I cannot focus on my Krishna consciousness. So they're very purposeful. Let us talk about Krishna. What can we do to improve in Krishna consciousness together? Like that, friends meet, they talk like that. And then the talks are also approved by learned circles because they're talking about the highest subject matter, like that. Then going to text 4. Let me see text 4 purport. Prabhupada refers to conversation between Krishna and Arjuna, how they are very valuable for us, and they are talking about Bhakti Yoga, which is about pleasing Krishna. And then Prabhupada is emphasizing in the purport that how we should approach a bona fide spiritual master and inquire from them on highest subject matter, not some trivial thing. Prabhupada, somebody asked Prabhupada, how many windows are there in Empire State Building? That's not the most important thing we need to learn. We need to learn something that helps us to grow in Krishna consciousness. Now, text 5, Suta Goswami. Now it went back to, remember until now, Sukadeva Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj was talking. So it went back to outer conversation where Suta Goswami was referring to this conversation, right? He's saying Sukadeva Goswami was also highly experienced and was pleased with the questions by King Parikshit. So that's why he said, please hear the topics attentively. This is another important thing. When we're hearing Krishna Katha, we should hear attentively so we can absorb something of value for our life and apply in our life. Then the conversation goes back to the inner conversation between Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. Sukadeva Goswami started to describe why Vidura left the home or left the palace in Hastinapur. He's saying King Dhritarashtra was not only blind from birth, impious desires to benefit his own dishonest sons like Duryodhana. So that's why he tried to cause harm to Pandavas by setting fire to the lacquer house. So in the purport, Prabhupada emphasizes that Dhritarashtra is not only blind physically but also spiritually because he has impious desires and is committing impious activities. So So when we are spiritually blind like that, it is detrimental to our spiritual progress. That means when we are spiritually not blind, how can we not be spiritually blind? By not doing impious activities, by not doing sinful activities, by doing only pious activities that are approved by Supreme Lord and His laws of religion, and the laws of religion that are described by Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is how we can protect ourselves, not to become spiritually blind. So now text 7, King Dhritarashtra did not stop his son's abominable action. What is the abominable action being referred here? That Dushasana was grabbing the hair of Draupadi to bring her to the assembly of the Kuru assembly. So that is not accepted in Vedic culture. Women are to be respected and protected in Vedic culture. What to speak about holding the hair and grabbing by the hair at that time. So that's why. But as a king, whenever somebody in a responsible position, he has the responsibility to make sure things are going in a right order. So it's not only the person doing the bad thing, but the person who is leading that assembly has a responsibility to make sure things are going according to the moral conduct, according to the laws of religion also. So that's why he say King Dhritarashtra did not follow that etiquette. So we should also learn like this, and we should take the matter to a leading personality in the assembly whenever something is going wrong, like women are not being treated properly, children are not being treated properly, old persons and brahmanas are not being treated properly. So we can take it to the attention of the leading personality, so who can take the necessary action. But because King Dhritarashtra did not do that, that means he was not doing his responsibility properly. That's what Sukadeva Goswami is conveying here. And text 8, Yudhishthira is referred as Ajata Shatru. That means Yudhishthira did not have any enemies. It means he did not consider anybody enemies. Dhritarashtra is considering Yudhishthira as enemy. But from his perspective, he is friendly to everyone like that. He was unfairly defeated in gambling. By what? By the Duryodhana's plans uh, to by cheating basically. But still, Yudhishthira accepted it and went to the forest. But when he came back from the Agnatavasa, the time they were staying in the forest, then they asked for, please give us at least 5 villages. But Dhritarashtra even did not even accept that. He refused that also, because he was so attached to Duryodhana and he was overwhelmed by illusion. So that is the other point here, that Dhritarashtra did not consider what is the right thing to do according to the laws of religion, but he just got into the attachment of son and acted immorally. Now text 9, Lord Krishna came as a peace messenger on behalf of Arjuna and the Pandavas. And when he spoke some nice messages that you should give some kingdom, some villages at least to Pandavas, who could hear the message? Only the pious people like Bhishma. They felt it is a wonderful messages like that. Whereas those who did not have piety, like Dhritarashtra or Duryodhana, they could not hear the words of Krishna, or they could not accept the words of Krishna in their heart. So that's what is another lesson for us. So if I do not cultivate pious activity in my life, I do not act according to the laws of religion, then I will not be able to hear right knowledge and understand it myself and appreciate it myself. That's one lesson we can learn in our life. Another lesson we can learn is, if somebody doesn't have pious karma yet, then even though we invite them to come here Bhagavad Gita, even though we invite them to come here Srimad Bhagavatam, they will not make time for it, because they don't have enough sukriti in their life yet to hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and learn from it and grow in their life spiritually. So we can be compassionate towards them and give them opportunities in some other way also, like giving them prasadam, inviting them to temple to come once a week at least to Sunday feast, and inviting them to our home when the opportunity arises, like that, giving them a book to read. That's all we can give them opportunity to go closer to Krishna in their journey also. Now text 10. So It's describing Dhritarashtra asked Vidura, who is his younger brother, for consultation. So only after Dhritarashtra asked him to give advice, Vidura went and gave a proper advice is described. This is another lesson for us. Only if others ask us advice, we need to give them. Otherwise, they will not listen to their advice anyway. And then our advice should be in accordance with the scriptures and authorities that we heard from like that. Text 11. What is the advice Vidura is saying? He's saying you must give the property, whatever is the legitimate share, back to Yudhishthira, who has no enemies, who has endured so many sufferings because of your offenses. And Bhima, who is one of the Pandavas, is breathing heavily like a snake to take revenge on you. So surely you are afraid of Bhima. So you should give their rightful share of kingdom to them. Like that is advising. Vidura is advising. Now, Lord Krishna and is telling not only what is the right thing to do, why he should do the right thing also. By telling him that he's telling Lord Krishna is on the side of Pandavas. He accepted them as a family members, as kinsmen. And then not only that, all the kings of the world are on the side of Lord Krishna. So they're strong. Don't think that they don't have any support. They have support of Krishna and all the other kings. Not only that, the Yadu kings and princesses um, are very, very strong and they're on the side of Krishna. Why are they strong? They, like in Kshatriya culture, princess go out to fight with the family of the nice, young, beautiful princess, and then they defeat them, and then they marry the princess like that. That's a Kshatriya culture. So all the Yadu dynasty princes went out like that, and they've defeated so many kings and married the princess like that. So he has so much support. So be careful. Don't think they're weak. Give them the kingdom like that is telling. And he's saying, you're maintaining, but you might think, oh, what will Duryodhana will think? My son wants kingdom. Don't want to disturb him like that. But Duryodhana is maintaining offense. Is an offense you're maintaining. He's envious of Lord Krishna. He's not a devotee of Krishna. And because you're maintaining a non-devotee of Krishna, you don't have any auspicious qualities. Relieve yourself of this ill fortune as soon as possible. So send Duryodhana out of this family like that is telling. Why? Because son, as a proper son, is described as apatya in this verse. Proper son, what he is supposed to do? He is supposed to offer Shraddha for his father. So you were thinking he is going to offer Shraddha after you die, so that you'll get a better position in the next life like that. But this guy is envious of Krishna and Vishnu. So somebody is envious of Krishna and Vishnu. How does he offer Shraddha? By offering food to Vishnu and then giving it to you? So he will not do that. So better get rid of him like that he's saying. So text 14. So Vidura's character is esteemed by respectable persons, it seems. That means even though Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra may have some opinion, but great respectable persons understand the greatness of Vidura. So Vidura was insulted by Duryodhana. Okay. So this is giving the introduction to the next verse actually. While speaking thus, Vidura was insulted by Duryodhana, was fallen with anger. Duryodhana became angry. Why? Because he's attached to this kingdom and he doesn't want to share with that kingdom which originally belongs to Pandavas. So when through lust and attachment, anger develops. That's where anger developed. That is hearing the advice. And his lips were trembling. And why did Duryodhana behave it in this bad way like this? Because he was in the bad association of Karna and Shekuni. They were bad association for him. So we should watch out whom we hang out with. We should hang out with nice people who are also aiming for spiritual growth. And that way we can be good company and act properly in life as it is pleasing to Krishna. Now, last verse for today. So now Duryodhana is insulting Vidura. What is he saying? Who asked you to come here? This son of a kept mistress, Dasi Putra, like that is saying. So, why is he saying that? Because Vidura's background was that he was a Dasiputra. What is Dasiputra? Prabhupada explains in the purport. In the olden days, kings used to, when they marry a queen, when they marry a girl who becomes a queen, not only the queen comes home, but her friends and servants also come home along with the queen. So some of those servants get intimate association with the king, and sometimes they have children also. So Vidura is such a person who was born with such an association. That's why he's calling him a son of a kept mistress. So such a Dasi Putras are given maintenance in the palace. They have a proper place to stay. They have all the necessary amenities and food and everything like that. But they're not eligible to become king, even though they're born from king and a servant like that. So that is why he's bringing up that point, Duryodhana, as the insulting words, not as a to speak truth. And then he's so crooked that he spies on the interest of the enemies. So Duryodhana is insulting Vidura, saying that, you Vidura, you are acting like a spy to my enemy, Yudhishthira, like that. That's why you are staying here. But you're doing wrong thing because you're eating my food and you are spying on the enemy, like that is insulting him. So he's saying, toss him out of the palace immediately and leave him with only his breath. That means beat him up and just with breathe, let him go out like that. So this is the nature of, let me go to that purport also. So in this is described that Duryodhana not only attacked Vidura that he's a Dasi Putra, but is also attacking him that he's a acting like a spy like that. So this is a uncalled for and is a not respectable behavior, especially when Vidura is a well-wisher of their family, but is speaking the moral words that are right words that are according to the prescriptions of religion, that Duryodhana is not able to appreciate. This is exactly like when you give a milk to a snake, actually snake will become more strong and will bite you quicker. Similarly, we should be careful what advice we give to whom, and only if they're ready to accept, we give them a advice like that. Of course, devotees are so compassionate that they go out of the way to encourage non-devotees to take up Krishna consciousness for their own happiness, not for they're not, devotees are not getting anything else. But we to be careful of avoiding the envious people also. That is the one more lesson we can learn from this particular verse. We'll see beautiful verse from tomorrow. Please join from text 16, where we learn how Vidura took this insult properly and grew in devotion service like that. So we'll pause here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Let's offer obeisance to all the devotees of the Lord. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kupasindubhyev cha Paditana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you, devotees. Hare Krishna.